Thank you for clicking on this video. For those of you who saw what I'm going to be talking about through the title and or thumbnail, which I haven't created yet, but I will create, and decided, hey, I'm gonna click on this video. I am Martin Prevost. This is a Rank the Movies bonus video. So I was going to put together a very specific video as a bonus, but I didn't get around to it. I could do it now, but I ended up watching 3 movies yesterday I've never seen before, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to talk about those instead. I'm gonna talk about these movies I've never seen before, because even now that we're going on almost 24 hours since I started watching these movies, I still have a lot of thoughts on them. And I thought about them a couple of times throughout today, this morning, anyways. So I'm going to talk about these movies in the order I watched them in. So yesterday I sat down and I decided to watch The Lobster. This is by the same director who did The Killing of the Sacred Deer. I have a review. It's a 4-pack review. Back a couple of weeks ago, I watched that one, and I had issues with that movie. It wasn't a bad movie. I just felt like the delivery was very bland and unenergetic, which apparently is this director's delivery. But so I saw the trailer for The Lobster before Killing of a Sacred Deer, and I just can't believe this came out in 2015, and I have never watched it before, because the plot of this movie is what made me go, you know what? Even though I didn't really care for Killing of a Sacred Deer, now that I'm thinking back on it, it wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't a Martin movie. Why would I give this director another shot? Because this sounded so interesting. So The Lobster takes place in a futuristic world. No, it's not really set up that well. I'll admit, I got that when I opened the IMDb, and it had the first 2 lines on the IMDb is what gave me this little bits of it. I think you watch the movie about halfway through, it becomes a little. It's never said straight up, but it becomes a little more obvious. It takes place in a futuristic world future world, not futuristic. It doesn't have flying cars or anything. It's a flying car, where it is required by law for all people to be in couples, whether it's heterosexual couples or homosexual couples. Everyone is required by law to be in a couple. Colin Farrell plays a man who's just been dumped by his mate. She has found somebody else, somebody that she is a better fit with, and therefore he is kicked out of the house and must go to the hotel. The hotel is where you meet new people. It's not in the city. You're not allowed to live in the city unless you are in a couple. So he has to go out to the hotel. You learn that you have 45 days to find a mate, or you get turned into an animal of your choice. Most people pick dogs, cats. Colin Farrell decides to choose a lobster. He brings with him a dog who turns out to be his brother who failed. So his brother had gone to the hotel, didn't get a mate, and therefore was turned into a dog. There is a way to increase your time, and that is with the hunt. You hunt people who are called loners. These are people who do not want to couple in any way, shape, or form. Basically, they just live in the woods with ponchos on, and they're completely independent to the point where you have to dig your own grave in preparation for your death, and knowingly know that you will have to bury yourself as well. That no one's going to there is nothing. You will do everything by yourself. But you go out hunting these people with tranquilizer darts, and the more you catch, the more days get added on to your stay at the hotel. So yeah, the first half of this movie is about Colin Farrell, his time at the hotel, as it winds down and he becomes desperate, but it's still told in this same kind of straight deadpan delivery that Killing of a Sacred Deer was told in. But because this idea isn't in any way rooted in reality, it's not taking place now, it's not. I accepted it, that this is just part of this future's, this is how people talk. It was way easier to accept it because it was a more fantastical idea. He is not a very good hunter, so he doesn't really catch any loners to increase his stay, and he is running out of time. He sees that one of his friends that he's made, he ends up getting with one of the girls who suffers nosebleeds, um, and decides that he'll tell her that he also suffers nosebleeds and will just occasionally punch himself in the face, slam his face against something to create a nosebleed so that they'll have something in common. Because apparently you need to have something in common to be a good fit. Like, you have to be a couple that like skiing. You have to be a couple who both have nosebleeds. You have to be a couple who have good hair. That's one of the things. Like, there's a girl who gets turned into a pony because she can't find somebody else who also has good hair. It's weird. It's a weird movie. So he decides that there's a woman who is just heartless. She has no emotions whatsoever for anyone, and he begins to show no emotions as well, so that she will choose him. She does, but that quickly fizzles out when she tests this theory to test him. She kills his brother, the dog, and he is mortified. He shows emotion, and she is going to turn him in. And the punishment for like lying to someone is you get turned into the worst animal ever. He ends up, with the help of one of the hotel maids, knocking the heartless woman out. And she doesn't have a name. Most of these characters don't have real names. Knocking the heartless woman out and actually transforms her into something. Though the movie never tells you what, but I believe it's a flamingo, because you see a flamingo in a later scene. I think she got turned into a flamingo. He then runs away from the hotel, but since he can't go back to civilization because he doesn't have a mate, he instead goes and joins the loners, who do occasionally go in pairs to the city to get stuff, and they act like they're coupled, but they're not. Where he learns that there is no requirements, he can stay as long as he wants, but he cannot have any type of relationship with anyone. He can talk to people, but there's no relationships. He meets some people who were making out, and they both have tape over their mouths because since they were caught making out, which is a relationship thing, they had to do the red kiss, which is putting razor blades into your mouth and then kissing the other person. There's also something called the red intercourse, which thankfully they never show anyone who suffered from it. But yeah, that's brought up as a thing too, is the red intercourse. There he meets Rachel Wise, I believe. Yep, Rachel Wise. And they actually end up forming a bond over the fact that they are both short-sighted. And so then it becomes them trying to figure out, well, what are they going to do since they're part of this loner group, but they're in love? What are they going to do? And at one point, they actually do go back to the hotel. That's the thing. The hotel is just almost completely abandoned halfway through this movie once it moves to the loners. You get one more scene with the hotel, and that is them going in to ruin relationships, which includes Colin Farrell going to tell the nosebleed couple that, yeah, he doesn't actually get nosebleeds. He's just faking it. So he could be with you. He's just faking it. He doesn't really get nosebleeds. And you find out that they go after the manager of the hotel and her husband by having him ask the question, which one of you can live alone? Can it be you or her? And then giving him a gun to shoot his wife, since she could never live alone, but it's really just him saving his own ass. And then they walk away because the gun wasn't loaded. It ends up Rachel Weisz is blinded by the leader of the loners, who finds out about her wanting to leave the loner group and join civilization with Colin Farrell. And now that she's blind, she's no longer short-sighted, so they now have nothing in common. So it ends with them escaping and Colin Farrell contemplating blinding himself. It's a weird movie with a weird ending. And I know but again, it's a 2015 movie. I'd check it out if you've never seen it. Yeah, I just told you everything that happens, but I didn't even touch, like, John C. Reilly's in this movie. And he's a pretty interesting character who also basically might also have been the flamingo. Um, though I'm pretty sure he said he wanted to be a fish, but he might have changed his mind. Um, but yeah, so it's a pretty interesting movie. I definitely check it out if you've never seen The Lobster. It's weird. It's worth the time. It was pretty good. Next up, I checked out the movie, and I've been wanting to watch this movie for a long time, and it's streaming. I know it's on a lot of streaming sites, or at least a couple of streaming sites. I just never think of it when I'm looking at a streaming site. Never think of it. But I found a copy of it, and I went, you know what, I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to watch it, because I want to watch it. And that is Snowpiercer. This is not the TV show of the same name. This is the Chris Evans movie that came out in 2013. It is based off of the same material. It is apparently, it's based on the same material, same story. Basically, the world is suffering a new ice age due to global warming and man's effect at trying to stop global warming. The last bastion of civilization is on a train that circumnavigates the globe once a year. That was created by a billionaire who was already wanting to build a luxury train that did this. So it's not like, oh, the world's going to end. Here's my train. It was, the world's going to end. Thank God I have my train. So basically it all depends. People who bought tickets are first class passengers and they have a lot of amenities. And then everyone else who just got on the train so they didn't have to die and humanity didn't have to die are tail section passengers. They live at the ass end of the train, which is basically squalor and a horrible place. Chris Evans is a character who is deciding to lead a revolution of the people from the tail end up to the engine and taking the engine, therefore rebalancing the power of the train. And it's just, it's an action movie where it's them getting into fights and you get to see the weird world of this train because, everything's the size of a train car. Like, you can't, it's not bigger than that. So you end up walking into, like, the school is one train car. Well, they educate the children. It's just a train car. So, like, moving forward or back, you have to walk through all of these different spots on the train. It's got some good action in it. I liked it. It was interesting. You also have Tilda Swinton, Jamie Bell, Octavia Spencer, John Hurt, Ed Harris. Alison Pill plays the teacher who's in one scene, just the scene with the classroom. It's got some interesting twists and turns in it. I liked it. I kind of want to check out the TV show now, just because I'm curious how they extended this idea into multiple seasons. Like, I could see a lot of flashbacks to before the train had to be the train, because this is 17 years after the freeze. So the world's been frozen for 17 years, and this is like the 4th or 5th rebellion of the tail section that you're watching play out. So I'm kind of curious what the TV show does. Like I said, it probably does a lot of flashbacks, and is trying to extend the story. Because this movie has like a super bleak ending. I'm not going to spoil it. The Lobster, I kind of had to. It was worth talking about. It was definitely sitting with me. This one also does, but you need to watch it. You need to watch this one. But yeah, Snowpiercers. I enjoyed it. It's a 2-hour movie. I was really surprised. It hit the hour and 20-minute mark. So there was like 40 minutes left because it's like 2 hours and 10 minutes. And I was like, what's left? What's left? We literally have Chris Evans, the dude they broke out who can open doors, and Ed Harris, who is the creator of the train. These are literally the only characters of any interest we have left. And there was 40 minutes of this movie, and let me tell you, they used that 40 minutes really well. It was a very well spent 40 minutes. I liked it. I like Snowpiercers, and now I kind of want to check out the TV show. The final movie I watched yesterday that I'd never seen before was the flick Quarantine. I had heard of this one. I had heard of Wreck, and that Wreck is supposed to be really good. This is the American remake of Wreck. I haven't seen Wreck, but I came across a copy of Quarantine. I'm like, well, it's supposed to be a very similar movie to Wreck, only with American actors in English. And truthfully, there's a way higher chance of me being like, yeah, let's watch a horror movie in English over, hey, let's read subtitles with a horror movie. Honestly, this movie is scary. Like, I don't think a lot of horror movies are actually scary. I think they're kind of fun or funny. This one is in its own right, but it's also pretty scary. Basically, it is a found footage movie, which I think actually really works. Like, I think if you look at Chronicle, I think that was a failure of the found footage genre. I think it works so well with Quarantine. Basically, it is a news reporter and a cameraman who are riding along with a group of firefighters, well, a pair of firefighters, for a night to do a news story. They're called to an apartment building where a woman has been heard screaming. They go to her apartment. She is despondent, and she eventually attacks and bites one of the cops who's also there, because it's a pair of cops and a pair of firefighters. They go to try to get the cop out of the building, and the building's on lockdown. They can't get out. No one's letting them out. All of a sudden, a firefighter drops from the second floor straight down to the first, which is a great effect. This movie isn't super gory, I'll be honest. Like, that sounds like, oh, it should... There's a blood stain, and that's it. Like, this movie is not really gory. It's very much horror in the proper kind of horror, which is you're scared because of what you're not seeing. You're scared because of what might be out there, which is the best kind of horror. Anyways, you find out that the whole place, the CDC is coming in, the whole place is on lockdown. Nobody knows why. Nobody's being told anything. And you learn eventually from one of the characters is a veterinarian, who's the closest thing to a doctor they have, that it looks like rabies. That it looks like these people are all suffering from rabies, except it's way more accelerated rabies. And that is what and obviously, like, more people get bit. It becomes an outbreak. It's kind of like a zombie movie, except they really do define what the zombie virus is on the outset, which is very helpful and very nice for it. I think the only thing I had a problem with this movie is the ending. Not because the ending isn't, like, terrifying. It is. It's a very freaky ending. They kind of explain too much. Like, I was perfectly okay with accelerated rabies. Like, I was okay with this. I was okay with this idea. They kind of went a little too deep into how the accelerated rabies started. And not even too deep, like, they come out and say it. They try to be way more clever with it and hide it. But it's pretty much just them coming straight out and saying, oh yeah, this is basically a terrorist thing. A doomsday cult, believing the end of the world is coming, and this is their virus that's going to do it. Which kind of took me out of it, because I just like the idea that it just was this accelerated form of rabies that started in a dog. And the reason the CDC became aware of it is because the dog was taken to the vet, started biting other animals at the veterinary clinic, spreading the disease, and they traced it back to this apartment building. So, went full lockdown just in case anyone else was infected. And yeah, the old lady was infected. There was another resident who was infected. There's a small child who her mother keeps screaming, "It's bronchitis! It's bronchitis!" until the kid, like, bites her on the cheek, which, again, this movie did not have a huge budget for effects. And, again, like, you hear me say that and you think, oh, it's going to be this huge. It's just blood smeared on her cheek. But that's what happened. So yeah, it's a good horror film. I really liked it. I might check out Wreck. I might watch, even though it might just be the same exact movie. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping it'll be slightly different. I'm kind of sad because I know there's a Quarantine 2, and I looked that one up, and it's not a direct sequel, which is sad because it should have just been a direct sequel. It should have just picked up and followed on. Maybe gotten rid of the found footage aspect at that point, just because it gets hard to do in a sequel. Like, honestly, I respect Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. so much because it just got rid of the found footage aspect. It knew it couldn't do it as well as the first movie, so it just went, nope, not doing it. So those are the 3 movies I watched yesterday: Quarantine, The Lobster, and Snowpiercer. All 3 of them are recommends. If you've never seen these movies, check them out. They are definitely worth your time and energy. I keep staring at it because I'm looking into my camera and I'm seeing what you're seeing, and I keep staring at the poster frame that's sitting right there. That actually might turn into a video over the next couple of days. I'm getting something tomorrow that's going in that frame that I might actually do a video on, like, why I bought it, why it's important, why it means something to me, because it's a weird thing. It's something a lot of people own. It is a print of the Picasso painting Starry Night. A lot of people own it. A lot of people own those prints. I'm buying it for a very specific reason, and that's why I'm going to frame it and find a spot for it to go in my apartment. But there's a very specific reason, so I don't know. Maybe I'll do a video on why I went out of my way to get a print of Starry Night. But that's for a later video. Like I said, Quarantine, Lobster, Snowpiercer. Check them out. They're definitely decent films and definitely worth the time to check them out. All right, I'm Martin Privos. This has been Rank the Movies. Like, comment, subscribe, check out other videos. There's a lot of stuff on this channel for you to watch. If you can't find something that doesn't interest you, you are not looking hard enough. All right, I will talk to you later.